Please welcome the President and Chief Executive Officer of Brand New Consulting, Dr. Nutrena Tate.
Hello, everyone. Have you ever felt invisible? How many in this room have felt invisible? And when I say invisible, it's as if people are looking through you, not to get to know you, but because of what you look like on the outside. And they already come to their notions of who you are and what you all about. So I'm going to ask you all that again. Who in this room has felt invisible? Everyone, I'm sure, can raise their hands. I'll never forget, I'm a nurse. Let me just start there. And going to nursing school, not too far away from here, my very first time being away from Metro Detroit, I'm born and raised here, went into my very first patient room, had my stethoscope around my neck, also had on a white lab coat. And instantly, what my patient said to me for the first time that I ever experienced an ism, here's my menu. There's the trash. You can pick up the trash. How do you think that made me feel? I felt so invisible, so not worthy. Being talked over in the boardroom, being talked over and looked over, being a checkbox and being something more or something less than I already am. Dimming your light that you knew was in you, that was established in you from the time you were in your mother's womb, in order for others to feel more secure about themselves. You feel invisible. I have felt invisible. Inclusive. And thinking about being inclusive and feeling included, who in this room has felt excluded as if they have not had a place at the table? Who in this room has felt that way? Many of us have felt that way and not even realized it. So many times being traumatized and being gaslighted and having fragility projected onto you just because of you being who you are. As a nurse, I have to tune into my empathetic pathways. I have to make sure that in order to feel included, I need to make sure that everyone around me feels included. I have to put myself in my patient's shoes and anyone else who I'm around because I know how it feels to be excluded. Yes, I have felt excluded. But in order to get over feeling invisible, in order to get over feeling excluded and to feel included, you got to be invincible. You got to put that together and you got to create your armor unlike no other armor that there is. If there are cracks there, you're kind of like Wonder Woman. I don't know how many of you all know about that superhero that you love, but Wonder Woman, that's my girl. That's who I try to channel whenever I feel someone is trying to get into my crack. I don't know about you, but I'm a recovering perfectionist. And you hear what I said, a recovering perfectionist. And what did I do to be a recovering perfectionist? I'm all about striving for excellence now. Excellence means doing the best that you can with the circumstances that you have and even beyond. That is what makes you invincible. I'll never forget, I'm an only child. My father, who was a military sergeant, watching him die in front of my face and I couldn't do anything about it. Watching this strong man who, through his time, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, led so many troops in the war. To see him fall in front of me and to let out this yelp of help that only me, my husband, and my mother could try to pick him up, that broke me. To see my mother now, who's a nurse, strong woman. She could look at me to this day and I'm 50 and I still shudder. I'm watching her become a shell of herself because she has dementia that has riddled her brain, and now she is not the woman that I remember. But I take that strength that they instilled in me, and I am invincible to be there, to be included. And what that invincibility does, it makes me feel invaluable. I'm a Nutrena. I bet you I'm the first and probably will be the only Nutrena that you will ever meet. Nutrena. That's a whole nother talk about how I got my name. But with that name, I know what my voice is. I know what my uniqueness is. I know that I am different and I love it. Sometimes because you are so unique and you know your value, Princess, you know your value, Deirdre, you know your value, Alicia, you know your value, Marianne and Elizabeth, people are going to hate on you, especially if you negotiate your worth. Don't let them do it. Let them hate on you. My pastor always says, when you have haters, it means you're doing something right. You keep that to fuel you. And guess what? It's not your fault that they didn't know how to negotiate and that they didn't know their value. That's not their fault. Inclusively empowering women to start up their own business is what I do at Brand New Consulting. I teach people to be the leaders that they were born to be. I now have my very first client who's been my mentee for 25 years, who is now a multi-million-dollar grant writer. And she's my first 25K client. And I love helping her out. I'm honored to work as part of my consulting business with many of the healthcare systems that have sponsored this event, as well as in this organization, to help those healthcare workers, 5,000 plus now, across the nation even, to tap into their implicit biases and understand how it affects their patient health outcomes and how it continues to bridge, and not even bridge, but really create that gap of health disparities. I am so honored to do that because of the embarrassment that my father put in me at 5 years old, putting me up to order my McDonald's meal. Telling me to speak it out loud, guess what that has created? For me to be invited on March 20th, 2024 to the Detroit Regional Chamber's International Women's Event. You gotta be incomparable because I am woman. Hear me roar. No one compares to you, whether that's Prince's version, whether that's Sinead O'Connor's version. Nobody compares to you. You ultimately have to know your brand. You have to know what you stand for. People see you coming before you enter the room. We are a part of a sisterhood, a solidarity, a movement around the world. Woman is a beautiful word, so much so that if I was speaking Swahili, I would say Nwake. If I was speaking Spanish, I would say mujer. If I was speaking French, I would say femme. If I was speaking Italian, I would say donna. If I was speaking Portuguese, I would say mulher. If I was speaking Haitian Creole, I would say femme. If I was speaking Indonesian, I would say wanita. And if I was speaking German, I would say Frau. At the end of the day, like I said, I am woman. Hear me roar. And when we think about this, we know, and I'm telling you now, and I want you to hug yourself real tight. Everybody, even those who texting right now. Hug yourself real tight and say, I know who I am. I know what my value is. And I know that I am included, I will include, and I am inclusive. Thank you all very much.